is the September edition of UNITAR News. The headlines are: Yale UNITAR Conference identifies opportunities for strengthening governance research and knowledge sharing to address climate change and foster a green economy. How can institutions and the rules of the game be strengthened to effectively address climate change and advance a green economy? This question was at the center of debate during the second UNITAR Yale Conference on Environmental Governance and Democracy in the United States on the 19th of September.
Mahatma Gandhi was right when he said that democracy must, in essence, therefore mean the art and science of mobilizing the entire physical, economic, and spiritual resources of all the various sections of the people in the service of the common good of all. And I think this is what we need to do.
The conference brought together 160 academics, governance practitioners, and civil society representatives from more than 20 developed and developing countries to explore opportunities of strengthening policy-relevant research on effective governance to address climate change and foster a green economy.
The tremendous interest in the conference clearly documented the value of bringing together governance practitioners and academic scholars to share knowledge and identify best practices, how institutions can best respond to and foster the transition to a climate resilient and low carbon economy. A particularly important aspect of the conference was the need for ensuring transparency and accountability and fostering effective public participation in all efforts linked to climate change.
On September 8, 2010, UNITAR held a roundtable discussion on its peacekeeping training program and Geneva peacekeeping platform. UNITAR gathered together a group of experts to discuss the following questions. Which organizations can plan, deploy, manage, and sustain peace operations in Africa? What is the role of the UN in strengthening the capacity of African institutions? Where should resources go, and how can they best reinforce existing capacities? And to what extent can training support this endeavor? The discussions were facilitated by UN Assistant Secretary General and Executive Director of UNITAR, Carlos Lopez. Panelists included Jean-Marie Guénon, Chairperson of UNITAR PTP Advisory Board, Lieutenant General the Honorable Romeo A. Dallaire, Senator of the Canadian Senate and former commander of the UN Assistance Mission for Rwanda. The year 2010 marks the 10th anniversary of UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on Women, Peace, and Security, which acknowledged for the first time the important role of women in the prevention and resolution of conflicts and in peace building, and the importance of their equal participation and full involvement in efforts for the maintenance and promotion of peace and security. The 10th anniversary of Resolution 1325 provided a unique opportunity to discuss at different levels lessons learned from its implementation and shortcomings that still hinder its full execution. The event complemented events held in Brussels and to be held in New York, focused around the other two pillars of Resolution 1325, participation held in Brussels and prevention in New York.
10 years after the Security Council passed its landmark Resolution 1325, the tragedy of sexual violence and conflict continues. In a single incident last month, more than 150 women and girls were raped in the DRC. This is unacceptable.
On the 16th of September 2010, UNITAR organized the 5th edition of the Geneva Lecture Series at the United Nations office at Geneva. The keynote speaker was Mr. Ekmeleddine Ezanoglu, the Secretary General of the Organization of the Islamic Conference. The event, which was open to the public, was on building bridges, intercultural dialogue, identities, and migration. Last year, President Gorbachev and Secretary General Ban Ki-moon were invited to participate in this event. On the 27th of September 2010, UNITAR's multilateral diplomacy program, in coordination with the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights and the World Trade Organization, organized a high-level panel on human rights and trade at the United Nations office at Geneva. The event discussed the link between human rights and trade. The panelists also all generally agreed on the importance of taking human rights law into consideration when drafting and ratifying future international trade agreements. The event was supported by the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie. The UNITAR Week and the Shanghai World Expo 2010 started on the 19th and ended on the 25th of September. There were 177,522 visitors in total visiting the United Nations Pavilion during the UNITAR Week. UNITAR, in cooperation with its partners, organized various events during 1 week, such as the Strategic Approach to International Chemicals Management, Implications for China and the World, panel discussion on China-Africa Economic Cooperation, Chinese Companies' Contributions to African Development, public conference on the Millennium Development Goals, Adapting to Climate Change in China, formed event on corporate social responsibility, the Millennium Development Goals, and the Global Compact Principles, Experience and Perspectives. UNITAR CFAL Network, Building Capacities for Sustainable Local Development. UNITAR Hiroshima Fellowship for Afghanistan presentation, and UNITAR Google Day. The executive director of UNITAR, Mr. Carlos Lopez, was present at many of these events, which took place in the UN Pavilion, where he made opening or closing remarks highlighting the importance of collaboration between UNITAR and its partners. A steering committee of UNITAR's affiliated training centers, CFAL Network, also took place during the UNITAR Week in Shanghai, where directors and representatives from CFAL centers and UNITAR had the opportunity to discuss achievements in future development of the network. This is the September edition of UNITAR News.